So during Christmas time, you'll see some cute little pens, novelty pens. This one is just a standard ballpoint pen here that writes, but it's got a squishy gingerbread man. It's cute, it's festive. It's a stocking stuffer type thing. This was a pack of pens I got at Target. It says, "Let's get cozy," or "Greatest time of the year." It's got some prints. For my art journals and fabric books, I like to have one of these pens, or I'll make my own. So if I can't find one that I like, or I don't want to purchase one, I'll make my own. This is just a pencil. I glued fabric to it and added some ribbon. And there are some other techniques I wanted to show you today. These are more an aesthetic, not necessarily a working model, although they certainly can be. So let me show you how I do a few versions of this. So to start with, you'll need your base. You can use a blank pen if you have just a standard simple ballpoint pen. I like to use number 2 pencils. They can be cut down and sharpened to make them any size. I'm just going to use the full length because it's easier. Or you can just get a wooden dowel if you have one. From here, I cut them down to reasonable sizes for my journals. So one of these dowels gave me 3 little pencils to make. And again, the ones made with the wooden dowel are not working. They're not functional. They're purely aesthetic. The pencil will work, and so will the pen. Once I cut them down, I wanted them to have something similar to a point. On a pencil like this, I can sharpen it. But on this, I just take some sandpaper and I'll just sand it down just to a point. And it doesn't even have to be a perfect point. It just has to be reminiscent of a point. For the pencil, I'll just take a sharpener and sharpen it. And for the beauty of this project, you can use a colored pencil just as well. But I'm just sticking with my basic number 2 pencils. So from here, let's make some variations. I'm going to start with the first one, which is just painting. So I took some craft paint and the colors that I want to use this year. This is just matte craft paint, acrylic paint, pink, red, and white. And I have a brush, and I'll take one pencil and I'll paint it. Now you can paint it to look just like a pencil with an eraser and whatnot, but I'm just going to paint it all in pink and then just add a little polka dot pattern to the top of it with red and white. So I get a nice rich color on there first. And this year I really do like the pink theme for Christmas. It's a little unusual for me. It can be any color that you want to use. So after I have my first layer dry, and I left the edge here to look like a pencil, but I have my first layer of pink dry, I'll just take another paintbrush and use the end here and just dot it here in some places. I'm doing the dots with the red. And then when the red dot's dry, I'll just add some white just for a little contrast. I just take my brush, dot it haphazardly. You can make a pattern if you want. I just like to break up the pink and the white. And when that's dry, I'll just take a little marker here. This is just a Sharpie. And I'll dab the end here just to make it look like it's a pencil. And so then I have just one version of a faux pencil that I can use on my journaling or my little mixed media work. So the next way to embellish this, and I want to make this functional, is I'm just going to use some tissue paper, taking my yellow pencil and covering it with this tissue paper. I have some Mod Podge here. You can use matte medium. Just going to carefully brush a nice light layer just down the pencil, maybe on a couple of sides, making sure I get my glue right to where I want it to go. And then I can take my paper, my tissue paper, find the exact spot, and just burnish it down. I'll let it overhang for now, but the areas that I put the Mod Podge, I'll just cover and really burnish well. Once I have it down, I can now continue all the way around the pencil. I don't want to put any Mod Podge or glue on the tip here, just on the yellow. And I'll try and do this somewhat neatly. Don't need a lot of Mod Podge, just enough to hold it down and really secure it. And I'll just continue wrapping around that tissue paper. Before I wrap it around completely, I'm just going to cut off the edge here. Twist this around. And now I'll just continue to adhere it. Again, using more of that glue. So now once I have it wrapped around, there'll be a little edge showing. I'll just go in there and add a little more Mod Podge. And then with my fingers, I'll just brush over all of it just to secure it down. It's still a little loose at the end, and that's okay. I'm trying to make sure that the top of the pencil is covered. And then I'll just do a light coating of Mod Podge over the entire piece. Everywhere that there's tissue paper, just trying to seal it in. And when I get to the end here, I'm just going to lightly go over the end. It's still looking a little shabby right now, and that's okay. Once it's all complete, I'll let this dry. And once it's dry, I'll just take the end here. Again, get back to my little sandpaper and just burnish it off. If it looks a little shabby, I can just take a little paint and just touch up the ends. This is just a prop, so I'm not worried about it. I can always embellish this further with paint, but I like that. It's another color coordinated piece I can use in my work. Another way to embellish a pencil is to use washi tape. Washi tape is fun because it comes in beautiful colors. It's already sticky, but it does need a little assistance. So I'm just going to take this washi tape. It looks like a candy cane. I think that's beautiful. I find that the washi tape, even though it's sticky, doesn't adhere permanently. It comes up quite a bit. So I want to peel off some of this tape. Start with this much. I can always go back. And then I start my piece here just with a little adhesive. I'm going to go back to that Mod Podge and just set some down here. I'll put it down in the beginning and in the end of where I put my tape. So I have a nice thin layer. It might be best to start at an angle. So I'll put the tape on, hold it in place because I know that that Mod Podge makes it slippery temporarily. And then I can just continually wrap my piece. Beauty of this is if it slides, I can just slide it back into place. And I want to wrap it fairly snug. When I come to the end, I know I need to add a little more. I'll just press it down, put a little Mod Podge over it, and then continue wrapping until I have the entire piece. So I'll get more tape. Start with it at an angle. Try and match it up somewhat, and then just wrap it until the end. And when I see that I'm getting to the end, take a little of that Mod Podge, set it down. Wrap it and cut it off. So I have a little candy cane pencil here. Again, I'll color in the tip to make it look more like a pencil. And you can do this with any washi that you like. For the last technique, my little dowel pencil here, my faux pencil, and you can do the same technique on a real pencil, I'm just going to take some of this double-sided tape. This is the red tape. It's pretty industrial, pretty thick. I'm going to snip it off and put it the length of the little dowel. Again, starting right at the tip and going all the way to the end. Doesn't have to go on perfectly, but I do want to get it on pretty pretty well. And then I burnish. This particular tape has a very thick plastic backing that I'll remove once I'm sure that it's nice and secure on the piece. I can take a pen just to burnish that tape. And I do want to put a little more tape on the back and the starting area. It can go the length, but it doesn't have to. I can just take 2 good sized pieces. Put them side by side here. And I have most of that bottom of the pencil covered. I'll do the same with the top. Then I'll start removing the tape. You can see there's a real sticky side to the tape and then that little red backing. I'm going to remove all the tape at the top and I'll use this little piece down here to hold it in place. And then I'm going to wrap my pencil with ribbon. Christmas ribbon comes in beautiful, beautiful array of colors and whatnot. I'm just going to use this gorgeous white one. It's a little white velvet. Got to be careful here because once I put it down, I do not want to have to pull it back up. I'm trying to cover everywhere so that none of the pencil shows. I'm just rolling it the length of this little rod. This is very much like wrapping a tennis racket with grip. And tennis players do that frequently because the grip wears out. When I get to the end here, I'll remove the red backing and I'll continue wrapping it. When I get to the end, I'll clip it, burnish it really well, and now I have an additional pencil. I could add another layer if I wanted. I can add a charm sticking out the top. There's so many ways you can go with this. And so this is a bunch of ways that you can make a prop or a functional pencil to use in your art journals or your Christmas journals.